Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as INEOS appear to finally come out and back Erik ten Hag. What does that mean? Will he be here next season? Will he be sacked in the summer? We'll be talking about that. Also, Mason Greenwood looks like he's happy to leave and stay in Spain. Staying in Spain, John Murta. He was at Barcelona yesterday. Reports are now coming in that he's been to Madrid as well. What is all that about? Also, we've got the latest on Ahmad. I think we can close that down as well. Of course, lots to get into. Morning. I've got a bit of a frog on my chest. Don't know what that's all about. Might be time of the year, pollen or something. I don't know. Talking about time of the year, time of the day, Goldbridge Saves Football podcast has just landed this morning at 7 a.m. If you want to join the Ultras and get involved with the podcast, scan that QR code, go and give it a listen today. You can listen to it when you're everywhere, coming in your ears for free. Anyway, let's get on with the show. So, look, this is probably, well, it's probably well-timed. I mean, I was speaking about this last week, how I think that INEOS need to get a bit of a grip on the PR machine. Really good start. But the Dan Ashworth thing has gone on for way too long. We need a director of football in now, and it's going on for too long. This summer is absolutely crucial. Barada isn't in post until the summer. We don't have a director of football. So I felt that the INEOS PR machine was slowing down a little bit. And also I felt that they were being, run by the media a little bit around Ten Hag and this constant talk of how many shots we've conceded, etc., etc. Sacking the manager, but this morning there is some news coming out, and I think it's good news. It's coming in from the Times. It's coming in from Paul Hurst, and this is what he's had to say. Manchester United have included INEOS. Manchester United and INEOS have included Erik ten Hag in recent discussions on several aspects of next season, including pre-season tour and transfers. So Erik ten Hag is heavily involved with INEOS at the moment on summer transfers and the pre-season tour. Also, a host of intermediaries have started touting their clients for the manager's position at Manchester United. We've seen that in recent weeks. We've seen it with Tuchel, we've seen it with Mourinho, we've seen it with Southgate. But there is a feeling at Manchester United that it would only be fair to give Erik ten Hag the structure that the new owners want to put in place and then judge him, which again I would agree is right, whether it happens or not. I'm just giving you the news on this. Erik ten Hag is well respected among the INEOS hierarchy, and there is a feeling that he has not been helped by the structure surrounding him. However, there is acceptance that he will be on shaky ground if Man United fail to qualify for the Champions League. INEOS' decision on ten Hag's future will be partly influenced by the cost of his dismissal. His departure and that of his staff would cost in excess of £10 million. So look, first thing I'm going to say is I'm not gonna go back on what I said before about I think I said it a couple of days ago. In fact, I don't really think that Manchester United are going to I've just got a feeling Ten Hag won't be the manager next summer. And maybe I've fallen into the trap of all the noise, because sometimes the most negative people can be the loudest people. At the end of the day, if you're in a room with 100 people and 99 of those people are good people, but they're not talking, and one person in that room is screaming and shouting abuse, all you can hear is abuse. One person in 99. And I think that with the Ten Hag thing at the moment, all we can hear is the negativity. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I want him to stay. I want us to build the structure around a manager and see what happens. I've seen what's happened with Klopp. I've seen what's happened with Arteta. And whether they replace Ten Hag or not, you've got to stick with the manager for 4 or 5 years to build something. But I do have this, and it's only my opinion. It's only my opinion. I've not been told anything about this. All I've been told is what I got told last Monday, which was Ten Hag's got 3 games really to turn this around. Everton, Liverpool and Brentford. He's won one of those games. He's got to win 2 of them, I think. And that meant that, I that's from a very good source, so I believe that. But I also just have a feeling, we'll have to wait and see whether that feeling's right or not. I just have a feeling they're going to do something. They're going to change something. But I do like what's coming out here, because this, to me, is what the owners should be coming out and doing at this stage of the season. You know, they need to shut down this manager sack thing, because we've still got a season to play for. We've got an FA Cup quarter-final. There's still an outside chance of Champions League football. And there's still a chance that we could get hunted down for 6th and end up in the Conference League instead of the Europa League. So, and I think people forget that. People forget that. They want their shiny new toy. I want a new manager. I want a manager. And I'm like, be careful what you wish for now. This is something for the summer. This is not for now. I think we've discussed this before. If we're going to replace the manager, I don't agree with it, but it has to happen in the summer. It can't be happening now, because we've got too much to play for at the moment. Like, we cannot finish 7th or 8th and get into the Conference League. Europa League's not great, but it's way better than the Conference League. And we have to be in Europe, because we need money. If you want to sack the manager and buy players, you need to be in Europe. Really, we want to be in the Champions League, but we have to be in Europe. And we can't be in the Conference League. So we've got to be careful about what's behind us as well. So, I mean, as I said, there's definitely people out there that seem to want us to lose so that the manager gets sacked. I think it could happen anyway in the summer. I want us to win, and I want us to hold on to where we are. But looking at what's come out from the Times and just dissecting it a little bit, look, you've got to bear in mind the money side of it. £10 million. Well, we've spoken about this for weeks, haven't we? I mean, this is Slow Sports News. I've played the game. Let him speak, Simon. You know, we know this. It's not breaking news. It's going to cost in excess of £10 million to sack Erik ten Hag. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for Manchester United, especially when we don't really have a lot of money. So it is a consideration. What do I think about Ten Hag being involved in recent discussions about, you know, pre-season and transfers? Well, it's been a long time since we've sacked a manager at the end of the season. I think the last one we did it with was Louis van Gaal. But I think that I wouldn't really read too much into that, is what I'm trying to say. The fact that Ten Hag's involved in transfers and the tour is logical. That doesn't mean you can't. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't mean you can't sack him. So I'm not really massively swayed by that. Gems, you're a legend. She's just gifted 5 memberships, by the way. Absolute legend of the chat and moderator. Hope you're doing well. But also, this is the big thing for me. This is the big thing that I find encouraging, because it's encouraging no matter what. Basically, INEOS Ten Hag is well respected by the INEOS hierarchy, and there is a feeling that he has not been helped by the structure surrounding him. However, there is an acceptance that he will be on shaky ground if he fails to qualify for the Champions League. I think that's the key bit. There is respect for Ten Hag, and there is a feeling that he's not been helped by the structure surrounding him. That, no matter what happens with the manager, displays an intelligence of the situation. Like, regardless of what they decide to do with the manager, the fact that INEOS apparently understand that the manager has not been helped by the structure surrounding him is true. Whether you're Ten Hag in or you're Ten Hag out, that's a fact. And the fact that it's been acknowledged by INEOS is good, because the structure around this manager, Rangnick, Ollie, Mourinho, Van Gaal, was and is crap. So the fact that that's coming out, that INEOS acknowledge that and have sympathy for Ten Hag, that he hasn't had the structure around him, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to keep him, by the way, but it's good that they acknowledge that, because it is a mitigating factor. And secondly to that, the acceptance that if we fail to qualify for the Champions League, we'll put him on shaky ground. I think it will. I don't know what's going wrong with my throat this morning. Has anyone else had this? Apologies, that's disgusting. Don't know what's going on. So yeah, I don't really... it's a funny one with Man United qualifying for the Champions League, isn't it? Because I think we would have expected it at the start of the season, but I think that the way the season has gone, of course, he's going to be on shaky ground if we don't qualify for the Champions League. But I've got to be honest about this. I don't really think that we... I don't know. Like, I look at Newcastle, I don't think Eddie Howe should get the sack. I look at Chelsea, I don't think Pochettino should get the sack. So it seems a bit hypocritical to say, well, if we don't get Champions League football, Ten Hag should get the sack. Villa and Spurs are way better than us this season. And so are Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal. So how can we get Champions League football when there's 5 teams better than us? I think it's not about not getting Champions League football. It's about... And Mason Mount's back in training. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But I don't move off topic, right? Unless we've signed Ronaldo or something. People will say if we don't qualify for Champions League football, Ten Hag needs to go. My conversation with them would be, why should we qualify for Champions League football this year? We're Manchester United. No, come on. Have we got... is our team in the top 5 this year? No. You need to look at why then. Why are we not in the top 5? Because those 5 teams are better than us. Why are they better than us? Because they've put their best team out more consistently than we have. I think if we could have put our best team out more, we probably would have been in the race for top 4. But I accept that is going to be something that INEOS look at as well. So look, Andy Everson says Ten Hag deserves time and the backing that would be given to a new manager. He's proved he's the right man. Tom Grant says we are paying a heavy price by delaying director of football. Sacking Ten Hag would be pointless. Good news on transfers, but we need clarification, not riddles. Off topic, Mount's back in training, says Florian. Gems has gifted 5 memberships. And Liam says, it would work better if INEOS kept Ten Hag. If next season goes wrong, he's the fall guy. If Ten Hag goes new manager, then it directly INEOS who is to blame as they remove Ten Hag for their manager. It's an interesting way of putting it, Liam, actually. Tactically, what you're saying is INEOS should keep Ten Hag. Then when it goes wrong next season, he gets the blame. And then INEOS bring in their own guy. Whereas if they replace Ten Hag this summer, some people will think that's a bit early, and if it goes wrong with the new guy, it reflects badly on them. So I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's not terrible. But look, I just want to say, look, that's interesting news coming out. It's the first time we've had any real story backing Ten Hag, but I will say, even as somebody that thinks the manager should stay, he's still got a lot of games where he can sack himself, and that could still happen. And I still think he's on shaky ground. So, and that's somebody who doesn't want him to get sacked. So, but look, interesting. I think there needs to be some PR coming out from INEOS that's a little bit more positive. So, I agree with that certainly. Let me just tell you that Mason Mount is back in training. This is coming out in the last few minutes. It's about bloody time. He's not going to be playing until April, but the fact that he is back in training is obviously a positive thing, and I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but yeah, he's a big player for Manchester United in the sense that a lot of people aren't really happy with Bruno at the moment, and Mason Mount offers you that thing. Kaya says, I thought you had the majority, Mark. What are you talking about? The only majority I give a shit about, fam, is myself. And it's the same for yourself. I don't really care about majorities. I don't want to sack the manager because I want to see a clear out of players. I don't care if 99% of you want to sack the manager. The community wins. That's absolutely fine. But I don't care about the majority. I don't care if you have a different opinion. You're on the wrong channel if you think that's what this is about. I don't care whether you have a different opinion. But look, what I want to say is about Mason Mount is that it's good that he's back in training, but he will not be playing until at least Brentford, which is 3 weeks away, because we've got Liverpool on Sunday, then we've got an international break. But it's good that he's back, but, you know, I hope it's going to work out for him, because we do need another player who can play in the number 10 position desperately. I just have concerns. I have concerns about why a player is out for most of the season in his mid-20s. It worries me. It does worry me. But look, it's good to have him back. I wish he'd been back a lot. I wish we'd had him back a lot sooner. But that's just sort of indicative of the sort of season that we've had. Bit of breaking news from Fabrizio Romano as well. Barcelona are currently not working on a Mason Greenwood deal despite links. Man United are open to selling Mason and find solution in the summer, as reported earlier this week. But Barca's focus is now on different targets. So that's from Fabrizio Romano. Now, I'm just going to bring this in. I'm happy to move about because that's absolutely fine. Last night, we had this story coming out that that John Murta and Matt Hargreaves of Manchester United were over in Spain talking to Barcelona's sporting director, I think it's Deco, and we were speculating what that might be about, whether it's about Mason Greenwood, etc. Another report came out to say that John Murta had been in Madrid as well. Well, look, Fabrizio's coming out saying that that's not about Mason Greenwood. It's funny though, isn't it? John Murta's in Spain, in Madrid and Barcelona, and who are the two clubs that have been linked to Mason Greenwood? Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. I am doing a watch along for Barcelona from Arsenal Tonight Junior Films. I don't really care what John Murta's doing in Spain, as long as he's not there, you know, stamping his passport and bringing back nice sweets for the office at Carrington. I think what is happening is INEOS, Barada, Blanc, Ashworth, INEOS, Brailsford are controlling John Murta and telling him to get out and do stuff he's never done before. I.e., get yourself out and about in March, not July. Now is the time you need to be going around speaking to clubs face to face. Get yourself out there. When have we ever, and it's not hard in real life now to get photographed or filmed having a chat with Barcelona or PSG. But it never happens. It never happens with United until the summer in July. Like, John Murta is quite recognisable. Man United fans are all over the world. If John Murta gets spotted in Paris talking to PSG's sporting director, I'd be stunned if we didn't get video footage or a photo, because fans are everywhere. People are reacting to seeing John Murta in Barcelona and Madrid, quite rightly, because it doesn't happen. We don't do this. That's not how we conduct our business. We are terrible at transfers. We probably do it on Zoom and email. And I think what INEOS is doing is, and Barada is saying, get yourself on a plane, face to face with Barcelona, face to face with Atletico Madrid. Then get on a plane to Turin, which I think he's already done. I think he's been to Milan recently. And maybe it has been happening before, but if it's been happening before, why have we not seen the pictures and the camera and the video footage before? I think this is really good. I don't know what it's about. It might lead to nothing, but getting yourself out there face to face, you have a better relationship and a better reputation. And I think that's what United are doing there. So we'll see what happens with it. Interestingly, in the Times, they did say about Mason Greenwood that he's very happy in Spain and happy to stay there. So look, we'll wait and see what happens with Mason Greenwood. I would suspect we'll have another story in a couple of weeks where he's staying. A couple of weeks after that, he'll be leaving again. And in the summer, I think he'll probably leave. But we're not going to get the answer on this until the summer, I don't think, because it's not in Manchester United's interest to be having Mason Greenwood definitely up for sale in March, because he's still got 2 months left to play, and you want to get that price up as much as you can. Ten Hag staying means more some players out in the summer, says Carmine. Well, I mean, look, that's one of the big things for me, Carmine. Is like, I'm worried that if we sack a manager, a new manager comes in and goes, you're not getting rid of him, and him, because I think I can get the best out of them. But case in point, when Ten Hag took over at Man United, Rashford had just had his worst season ever, and he was, his agent was talking to PSG. Ten Hag comes in and says, you're not selling him, I want to get the best out of him. And then 2 years later, people are saying sell Rashford again. So you sack Ten Hag, new manager comes in and says, you're not selling him, I'll get the best out of him. And I'm using Rashford as an example because it will work with McTominay, it will work with Varane, it will work with anybody. When a new manager comes in, they don't really want to sell players that the previous manager wants to sell because they've got egos and they go, I'll get the best out of them. Whatever happens with the manager this summer, it's absolutely imperative that we sell over 10 players. This is the summer of the clear out. And I worry how you have a clear out when you bring a new manager in who goes, but I don't know what player I want to clear out because I need to look at them first. Thank you very much for that. Ex-England manager Mike Bassett to replace Eric, says John. We are paying a heavy price, says Tom Grant, for delaying the director of football. Also, it's a news show, lots to get into. I want to just talk about Ahmad very, very quickly. Dark Moon says, love for everyday shows, Mark. Players need to go first. Mark, do you really trust Ten Hag to be our future, says Sin Games. What promise has he shown? I think, look, I don't want to get into the Ten Hag conversation because it gets very repetitive and I don't think people really understand it. I've just given you the big explanation as to why I want Ten Hag to stay, because I believe that this is the summer to clean house on players. I already have been told of 3 players that are staying, that in Bruno, Rashford and McTominay, and I'm a bit confused as to why we're definitely saying that they're staying in March. That worries me a little bit. I wouldn't sell 2 of those players, by the way, but it worries me that we're making that decision in March. So already I'm like, is this going to be the clear out we need it to be? It has to be a clear out. It has to be a clear out. I'm tired of sacking managers. Whether Ten Hag's the right guy or not, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But he hasn't had the structure around him, and there are players that need to go before he does. I would give him another year, definitely. But look, I remember saying this a year ago. I remember saying a year ago, I wouldn't replace De Gea. I'd give him another year. They replaced De Gea. So I'm completely realistic that what I want probably won't happen, but I can only convey my point and explain it. I'm not dying on this hill, and I've got no control on it, but I think it's wrong to get rid of the manager before we get rid of the players. On the Ahmad thing, really important. We were speaking about Ahmad last night. I said, look, it's really disappointing if we've got another player, putting their dissatisfaction out on social media. A few journalists this morning have come out and described Ahmad's behaviour as, I can't remember the exact words, but, it's he's basically being passive-aggressive, I think one journalist said. He's not being passive-aggressive, and he's not doing anything. He's clarified it and said that this is Ramadan and he wants to be off all social media for this month to focus on that and football. So you can call bullshit, you can make it fit whatever story you want to fit, but the player has come out and said that it's got nothing to do with game time or dissatisfaction. It's to do with his religious beliefs and wanting to be in the right headspace. End of story. I have no comments. I have no comments at all. I'm not going to start speculating about stuff like that when a player comes out and says that. We can all read into it what we want to read into it. Some people will say, oh no, he's deleted all his social media and now he's covering up for it. I think that's a very unfair thing to say. End of the day, we're back where we are. I want to see more minutes. I want to see more minutes for Ahmad. Let's see if we see more minutes for him between now and the end of the season. Simple as that, really. But look, it's a non-story in the sense that it looked like a story last night, but it isn't one. Interestingly, as well, coming out in the last few minutes from The Athletic, this is what they've had to say. Anthony has no desire to leave Manchester United. He has accepted he has a challenge to win back his spot and he wishes to stay and compete for it. Sources close to the player add that Ten Hag and Man United have supported Anthony since he returned to training and shown an understanding that his performances will be affected by the ongoing police investigations. And that is where we are in relation to that. The investigation into the allegations against Anthony remain ongoing by the Greater Manchester Police, and the Brazilian authorities' investigation against Anthony is also still active and yet to reach a conclusion. But you know what? Look, there's the football side and there's the human side. And there will be people who go, I don't really give a shit about that. I'm not really bothered. Emmanuel, welcome to the Members Club. I couldn't give a shit about that. It's excuses. He's shit. Let's sell him. Look, it's a news show and that's news. It's coming in from The Athletic. What are my instant thoughts on that? Look, patience has to be a thing, but it isn't a thing. I think patience is a dying breed in football and society. We're becoming less and less patient. I mentioned this the other day. I was in London the other day. We're in London, aren't we? I'm on the tube. I'm coming into Waterloo. Normally when you're on the tube, it's really busy. The doors open and people who are waiting to get on let you get off. It's logical, isn't it? You know, it's actually logical. When a packed train comes into the station, it's logical to let people off to create space for you to get on. Amazingly, and I'm sure people who live in London will appreciate the change here, this is happening more and more. The doors open and the people waiting get on. They're not letting you get off. It makes no sense, but patience in society is becoming less and less. And it's no different in football. Anthony and the police allegations were at the start of the season. We're nearly at the end of the season. It's absolutely understandable that he's got a lot of stress going on in his personal life. Like, you know, think of the Mason Greenwood situation. Imagine that was very, very stressful for him. Think about the Harry Maguire situation when he was in Greece. Imagine that was very stressful for him. It will be very stressful for Anthony. Put yourself in that situation when you're being accused of those sorts of things and there's investigations going on in 2 countries. The outcomes of those are very serious if, and it's a big if, because obviously he protests his innocence, you get found guilty, football's not going to be your main concern. You could be behind bars. So you've got to put yourself into people's positions sometimes. You know, people are very happy to put themselves in Marcus Rashford's position and say, you know, he's struggling, he's put his interview out. Quite rightly, people have empathy. And I think as human beings, we should have empathy to the situation that people find themselves in, regardless of who they play for or regardless of how much money they earn. So I take on board that it is a very stressful situation for Anthony. And it has to be acknowledged as a mitigating circumstance. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary when you look at Rashford and how he's underperforming and looks unrecognisable for whatever issues he's got going on. It would be unfair to say, well, it's okay to give Rashford that as a reason, but we can't say that Anthony's playing shit because he's got stuff going on. So I think you have to take that into account. However, what does that benefit me as a Man United fan? And that's really harsh, but it's true. What, you know, if Bruno's struggling or Rashford's struggling or Anthony's struggling, fine, I take it on board. It sounds really stressful and my thoughts are with you if you're innocent, but how does that benefit me and millions of other Man United fans right here, right now, when we're having a shit season? And it's that balance, isn't it? Look, I hope all this gets resolved with Anthony. He has a really good summer and next season he finds the form he had in the Eredivisie. But as I said in the video the other day, we've got to be real. There's been plenty of players that have come from the Eredivisie and not stepped up in the Premier League. There's been plenty of players who've come from the Eredivisie and played well in the Premier League. What is the answer with Anthony? And the more I see him this season, the more I'm like, he's one of those players like Memphis who just doesn't cut it in the Premier League. But is it because he's got everything going on at home and he's not in the right headspace? Patience. Who's got patience? That's what it comes down to. I'm not saying you're wrong for saying get rid of him, he's crap. I'm not saying you're right for saying there's a good player there, he's just going through a lot. I don't have the answer. I'm just saying patience is not something that necessarily exists. And maybe it shouldn't, you know. Maybe those people who want Ten Hag out, maybe they're right. You know, maybe they don't need to be patient. Maybe they don't need to look at the mitigating circumstances. Or maybe those of us who say we do need to look at that are right. Or maybe the truth is somewhere in between. But it'd be very interesting if we're going to try and sell Anthony in the summer anyway, because we can't sell him. I think whoever the manager is, whoever the owner is, Anthony in the summer is either going to stay for another year or we're going to loan him. We can't sell him. No one's going to buy him. Like, I mean, I want to be real. I'm really excited about the summer transfer window. And for me, it kicks off now. I mean, we've been doing this for many years. And the summer transfer window, I always want to ring the bell. It starts now. It starts now. It literally does start now. And that's not based on speculation. That's based on years and years of doing this with you good people. It starts now. You know, the March international break is next week. The stories will be coming out. It happens every year. So basically, the summer transfer window starts now. It's very exciting. It's going to potentially be our biggest summer transfer window in 20 years, in the sense that there's so many players that can go and there's so many players that can come in. And I'm really excited about it. You know, we've done so many good summer transfer windows over the years. I mean, I think back to the summers of being linked to people like Lozano and the Schweinsteiger-Schneiderlin double and Falcao on loan. We've had some cracking summers, and I think hopefully this is going to happen again. I guarantee you INEOS want that. But we've also got to be real. We've got to be real. And if we're going to start talking about transfers, and you're welcome to get in and let's start doing it. If we're going to do it, you've got to get in on it. You've got to get in on the community, and you've got to start being real, because we've done this so many times. Some of us, most of you, are very experienced on how this works. And we can't walk into this summer transfer window saying, let's sell Anthony, let's sell Sancho, let's sell Greenwood, let's sell McTominay, let's sell Maguire, let's sell Casemiro, let's sell Wan-Bissaka, let's sell Lindelof, let's sell Rashford, let's sell Bruno. You know, it's not going to happen. You might be right. All of those players maybe do need to go, but it's not going to happen. So we've got to be real. And I didn't even use Anthony then, did I? Maybe I did. I don't know. But we've got to be real. We can have a really good summer transfer window, but we've got to be real. There's too much fantasy out there at the moment. Now, the manager, get fantasy. Be a fantasist. Do what you like. Get your whips out. Don't matter. I don't know in the manager, because it's a simple, will he get sacked or won't he get sacked? And, you know, you can be a fantasist or realist. It doesn't matter. But on the transfer window, we've got to be real. And let's use Anthony as an example. There are people out there, there are journalists out there saying, let's sell Anthony. Well, okay, real. Let's be real. You know, when it comes to transfers, we genuinely, for years, have been very real about it. I think the channel's brilliant. I think the community's brilliant. But I think in the transfer windows, it's even better because it's really educated and real. If you could have a degree in transfers, I'd be handing them out to all of you, because you learn about transfers by studying transfers over the years, and it's very specific on club. How we do transfers is not the same as Liverpool. It's a different degree. It's like biology and chemistry. You could say United's is biology because it's, you know, human shit. And chemistry maybe is Liverpool because it's, you know, well researched. But my point is, I'm wandering there. My point is, a Man United summer transfer window, you are an expert in it, and we talk about it because we've been doing it for years. Anthony is not sellable this summer. Whoever's talking about selling Anthony is talking out their arse. It's not doable. It's not real. It can't happen. It's going to be very hard to sell Sancho as well. So let's talk about Sancho and Anthony. Anthony cannot be sold this summer. We spent £80 million on him. We haven't even paid that off. We'd be paying Ajax money after we've sold him. We can't sell him. What's the value of Anthony? What is the value of Anthony, and who would pay it? There is no football club in Europe, in the world, that's going to give us any money for Anthony at the moment higher than 30 million. We can't do that deal. Saudi Arabia, he ain't going to Saudi Arabia. I mean, you know, he ain't going to go to Saudi Arabia. I mean, maybe that's the only way. But in fact, you know what? When I think about it, maybe that is the only way. But we can't sell him in the summer. You might want to sell him, but we can't sell him in the summer. You're looking at a loan deal, or you're looking at giving him another year. But we can't sell him, and we won't sell him. And in relation to Jadon Sancho, how do you sell him? Where do you sell him to as well? Like, Sancho might be a little bit different. He's probably got more credit in the bank than Anthony, to be honest with you, because of what he did in Dortmund. But they're not easy deals to do. They're not easy deals to do. And if we're going to talk about transfers, we need to be realistic. It's not as easy as saying, I mean, look, all right, let's do something completely different. People say sell Rashford. To who? It's a different problem because Rashford's proven himself at the highest level. But even if United wanted to sell Rashford, who do you sell him to? United pay him top money. top money. What club's going to give him that money for a start? So you've got to find a club that will give him the wages to make him want to go. And then you've got to get a fee out of them. You've got no chance. No chance. Who's going to give Marcus Rashford 350k a week? Apart from Saudi Arabia, and he's not going to go there. And then they're going to give us, 70, 80, 90 million. Never going to happen. So, yeah, we can all talk about, let's sell this player. It's not going to happen. You've got to get real. You've got to get real. Give Anthony a Robin tape and make him watch it all summer, says Kyle. 5 ins and 5 outs would be a good summer for us, says Karen. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. If I said to you, I don't think it's enough. Keel says, what do you think of the new spending rules? I'm still trying to get my head around them, mate. Nobody's really explained it in a massive way. Hi, Mark. In your watch-along yesterday evening, you said you were going to talk about the new laws coming this summer, FFP and 85% of revenue. I think I'm going to do a video about it a little bit later, Havard, because I'm still trying to get my head around it. Lots of people are coming out with, oh, United can spend loads and loads of money. And I'm like, that's not what it says. That's not what it says. And, I'm not, despite the nonsense that gets put out there, we tend to talk through a lot of things. And so... I'm not going to start doing videos going, oh, Man United can just spend millions and millions now. And maybe they can, but it's not set in stone. And I've spoke to a couple of people already about it. So we will be talking about that. But I want to make sure that we've bottomed it out properly because I think too many people are talking out their arse about it. But look, I think first and foremost, Man United... I believe Man United can spend between 200 and 300 million pounds no matter what the FFP rules are because we can sell to buy. I think we've got around 100 million to spend and we can easily raise another 150 if we want to in sales. There's pure profit to be made from the likes of Greenwood and McTominay, and on top of that you've got a lot of wages you can cut. You can bring some money in for people like Casemiro if you want to as well. I think there's a lot of money that United can raise. I think Wan-Bissaka's going to bring you in 20, 30 million as well. So there's a lot of money that we can raise. I don't think spending 300 million pounds this summer for Man United is impossible. They've just got to sell well, really, definitely. Rasmus back for the weekend, says Michael. Yeah. I mean, look, never say never. Football's a funny old thing. I think there was an expectation that he would be back for the Everton game. Thank God we found a way of winning without him. I was very, very worried about that. But he will be back for the weekend because it's Sunday, isn't it? And the only thing I would say about Rasmus, I mean, obviously we desperately need him back. I think Harry Maguire's back and Wan-Bissaka's back. I think the Wan-Bissaka thing could be bigger than you think. I think the Wan-Bissaka return is not being spoken about enough. I think people are sleeping on Wan-Bissaka because, all right, he might not be our starting right back at the moment. I think Delot has nailed that down. But you're forgetting the fact that Wan-Bissaka is not a bad player. And the way that we are at the moment, he suddenly becomes a very, very good player, i.e. we've got a massive injury crisis. So if we can get Wan-Bissaka in at right back, we can put Delot in at left back, and we've got 2 fullbacks. So I think people are, Rasmus back is absolutely essential. But if Wan-Bissaka's back, then, we've got a real opportunity of, playing with a couple of fullbacks. You said already that McTominay wasn't going, says Lee. Yeah, Lee, I'm not the director of football and I'm not the owner of Man United. I've been told from a very good source that we're not selling McTominay, so we probably aren't. What I'm saying is, if you want to spend 200-300 million pounds in the summer, there's a very easy, straightforward way for Manchester United to do that because there's 150 million pounds worth of players we could sell very, very easily. I mean, just off the top of my head, Greenwood's going to bring you 40. McTominay would bring you 30. You're at 70 already. Wan-Bissaka brings you in another 30. I think Maguire probably brings you in another 20. That's 120. Then you've got people like Brandon Williams. You're easily going to hit 150 million pounds if you want to. And then, you've also got to take into account they're going to let Varane walk out the door for nothing. That's going to save you a few million in wages. So, look, we can easily get there. But you're right. I've been told We won't sell McTominay. We won't sell Bruno. We won't sell Rashford, and I don't think we will. I think it's good information. Would you take Makuku in a swap deal for Sancho? Says Florian. Yeah, I've seen about swap deals. Swap deals, I think, are very rare, and I get quite concerned when I see. I remember speaking to Fabrizio about this years ago about swap deals. I think we did it on a video. It might have been off air, but we spoke about it. And I remember him saying to me, you know, when he hears swap deals, he does just sort of like not lose interest, but think, because they're really difficult deals to do, and they don't actually happen very often, and they're very rare in the Premier League. The one that we did was Mkhitaryan and Sanchez, and I'd been. I mean, look, if you were watching the United stand there, you've been here a long time. How many years ago was that? But I remember doing a video and I was shitting myself. I was like, oh my God, I'm about to drop something here, and if it's wrong, we're screwed. And I'd been told from a really good source at Arsenal that Alexis Sanchez was going to sign for Manchester United, and it wasn't really in the press or anything. And I was like, you're talking bollocks. And they were like, no, it's going to happen. And I mentioned it on a show, and obviously people started talking about it. And it didn't happen. It hit the news quite quickly that it was going to happen, but it didn't happen for a few weeks. And the reason it took so long to do was because Mkhitaryan's side slowed that deal down. Alexis Sanchez, Arsenal and Man United were ready to do that deal really, really quickly. But it was the Mkhitaryan aspect of the deal that slowed it down. I think it took 2 or 3 weeks to do. And it would have been done in a couple of days if it had just been United doing the Sanchez deal with Arsenal. But Mkhitaryan and his agents, and I think Riola was involved then, they slowed it right down. And that's what I mean about slow deals. Swap deals really slow it down, because when you're buying a player that's... thanks, Solid Blake. Still, yeah. Do your job, moderators. Thank you very much, legends. The trouble with a swap deal is just that you double your workload. It's like doing two people. You know, if you go down Sainsbury's or Tesco or Aldi to do your weekly shop, and then when you're on your way out, your neighbour just gives you their list and says, "Can you do that as well?" That's a swap deal. You're walking around with 2 trolleys doing double the work, because you've got 2 players, 2 transfer fees, 2 agents, 2 wages. It's just to double the work. So a swap deal, I think people get quite excited about swap deals, but it's double the work. It's a lot of work, and that's why people steer clear of it. Ten Hag will recreate that Sir Alex win in the FA Cup that changed everything for Fergie, and he will do the same. Trust in Ten Hag, says Malcolm. Mate, if we win the FA Cup this year, I think it'll be one of our biggest wins of the last 10 years. I can't see it. I can't see it. I think Liverpool and Man City are so far ahead of us at the moment. We might beat Liverpool on the weekend. If everything goes our way, we might do it. It's at Old Trafford. It's against our biggest rival. We are the underdogs, but you never know. But to beat Liverpool and Man City, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us. Very, very difficult. Haven't even mentioned Donny or Martial for sale, says Patrick. Well, Martial's not for sale. He's going for free. And Donny, we won't get much for. Wages will help. Maybe the announcement of these players not up for sale is to retain their value for the summer, says Andy Mack. Could be. Could be. I mean, there's no... Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I was told it, and you make a good point. I was told it from a good source, and maybe I've been played, you know, because if you mention it on here, it goes out, don't it? But I don't know. I don't know. I can only tell you what I was told. Didn't Donny work? Isn't he a Ten Hag player, says Partip? You know why Donny van der Beek didn't work? And it might be the same reason that Malacia doesn't work, or Anthony doesn't work, or any other player that we buy from Europe doesn't work, because the Eredivisie ain't the Premier League. The Bundesliga ain't the Premier League. La Liga ain't the Premier League. And Serie A ain't the Premier League. The downside of the Premier League being the best league in the world and the most competitive league in the world is that any other league in the world, you're not 100% sure whether they can come and play in this league. It's not always been like that in my lifetime, but the Premier League is so far ahead in intensity and competitiveness that just because you're playing well in the Bundesliga doesn't mean you're going to play well in the Premier League. And yet, most of our exports go and do really well. You know, you look at Tomori, AC Milan, you look at Bellingham, you know, Sancho. it's gone the other way now. Not many people do leave our league to go and play elsewhere, but a lot of them do well. But the Premier League is, you know, I just think Donny van der Beek is one of those players that looked really, really good for Ajax and may have been better off going to Real Madrid and was a regular for the Netherlands, and he came to the Premier League and it's just not worked. And it's not just Man United. He didn't work at Everton either. And obviously confidence has a lot to do with it. But yeah, I mean, I've seen it loads of times. I wanted Kagawa to do well, didn't work. You know, I wanted Mkhitaryan to do well, didn't work. It doesn't. Sometimes it can be like that. Makuku swap, we've done that. Let me just have a quick double check on the news that's going on. I've done that one about Anthony. That's fine. We've done that about that. Sometimes there's some breaking news while you're live, yeah. Barcelona not currently working on a deal to sign Mason Greenwood. Yeah, well, it is only the 12th of March. I wouldn't be too fussed about that. Yeah, Mason Mount back in training. A lot of people just tuning in. Mason Mount's back in training, touching grass, kicking the ball, good stuff. Look, I think with Mason Mount, and again, you know, it's all about opinion and it's all about experience. What concerns me is it's not usual for a player to be out all season in their mid-20s as a new signing. It's not usual. Having said that, Timber at Arsenal is younger than Mount. I still think he'll come back and have a good career. Lavia at Chelsea is younger than Timber and Mount, and he's been out all season with an ankle problem. All season with an ankle problem. These injuries are weird at the moment. You know, people are, you know, Mason Mount didn't do his knee. I don't really know if we know what Mason Mount did. Was it ankle? Was it calf? But there's a lot of players out at the moment for a long time with injuries that aren't knee injuries. So I have a concern about Mount because I always am concerned when players are out for a very long time at a young age, because you start to think, is this going to be an ongoing problem? But if he comes back and stays back, then hopefully this can be the real start of Mason Mount's journey at Manchester United, because I still see Mason Mount running round in a Man United training top, and I don't see the training top. I see a Chelsea shirt. Mason Mount is still a Chelsea player, and we want to see him as a Man United player. And there is absolutely no doubt that Mason Mount at his best offers something for this team. And I think if there is to be an advantage of Mason Mount's injury, it's that when we bought him, there was this confusion about where we were going to play him. And I think the plan was to play him in the Eriksen role, which actually didn't work last season. It didn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work having one holding midfielder and two attacking midfielders. But I think that was the plan. I think the plan would have worked if we could have done what we wanted to do, but it doesn't work in the way that we're working at the moment. I.e., you can't have one holding midfielder with a low block and a high line. It doesn't work. If you're going to have two attacking midfielders in your midfield, you need to have a high line, and we can't do that at the moment. So maybe that's the future. But then you go, well, what happens with Mainu? You can't play Mainu, Mount and Bruno as a midfield three. It's just not strong enough. So it's going to be interesting where Mount plays. But I think in his absence, what has also become very, very clear, and I don't think it will be lost on Ten Hag, is that Bruno Fernandes is not a possession-based number 10. And Ten Hag does need a possession-based number 10. Now, I don't know that Ten Hag's going to drop Bruno. I'm not saying that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mount can get himself back fit, if we saw Mount playing in the number 10 role. That doesn't mean that Bruno won't go to the wing, but I just think in the absence of Mount and the constant picking of Bruno, we are, some of us, becoming more and more aware that we need a number 10 who can retain the ball like a magnet, like an Odegaard. And maybe Mount can be that player. Maybe he's not, but I certainly would love Mason Mount to get back fit and back to what he played like at Chelsea when he was at his best and winning Player of the Year when they're winning Champions Leagues. I would like to see him given a chance in that team, in the number 10 role. What that means for Bruno is it doesn't mean we sell him. It doesn't mean we drop him. I wouldn't be surprised if we find a new role for him, but I would like to see him play there. Terp says we could use Bruno as a false 9. We could put him on the wing. But Joseph says we could put Mount on the wing. I want to see a number 10 come into that club with with more possession ethos. I think that would be interesting. Partip says Donny was fantastic even in the Champions League. Ollie ruined him. Well, there you go. Hi Mark, I really like your podcast, says Oscar. What do you think about our sporting director role? Saw Liverpool appoint Michael Edwards. I think we need to get a move on, mate. I think what's happening at the moment, Malcolm is a new member. Ten Hag will, thank you very much, Malcolm. I read your comment about the Ten Hag thing, didn't I, as well? Legend. We need to get on with the director of football stuff. I think it's an embarrassment that we might pay money for a director of football that can't start until after the summer. But Wirtz would be a lovely signing. A lot of people talking about him. He would be a lovely signing. I don't know whether we've got the money to do that. But what I will say is, when it comes down to the director of football, we need them yesterday. So that needs to happen. It's not all doom and gloom, though, because you can direct. And I think what United are obviously doing is Barada doesn't start till the summer and Dan Ashworth's not in the role now. But that doesn't mean you can't get things going. It's not legal. What I'm about to say is not legal. But it's not impossible for INEOS to direct John Murtagh what to do. And what I mean, and I'm not going to say any more than that, but it's not impossible for people on gardening leave and whatever to be getting stuff out to Man United. If we got caught, we'd be in big trouble. But it looks to me like Murtagh's being directed by somebody, Barada, Blanc, whatever. But the reason you want Dan Ashworth in place is because you want that vision. You want those ideas. You want to get working on them. Somebody in the chat just said, I've just realised we're playing Liverpool, the Matrix. I've just clicked, we're playing Liverpool next. Mate, I've seen a lot of Liverpool recently. Obviously watched them at the weekend. It would just be typical if all their injuries come back for this game. Because, you see them against Man City. No Robertson. Salah doesn't start. No Alisson. No Konate. No Jota. No Trent. I don't think some of them are back. I don't think Alisson and Trent will be back. But it matters not. They're playing so well at the moment. And we will have to play ridiculously well to beat Liverpool on Sunday. I say bring it on. I'm not scared. I say bring it on. But it'll be a very, very interesting game. But again, you sort of go into it like the Man City game saying, if we can keep that respectable, then that might not be a bad thing. I mean, we should have lost 2-1 to Man City. Amrabat at the end is just a prat, as we know. But yeah, it's sometimes more difficult when you're at home. But I'm going to go for a United win. It's not preview time, but I think we can win that game. I think with Rasmus back, Wan-Bissaka's got to start, put Delo at left back. Maybe Maguire will play instead of Evans. I mean, that might be a bit unfair to do that, to be honest. But anyway. We're 7 o'clock tonight. I'm going to do some research into this FFP stuff, so we'll definitely be talking about that later. I've got a 2 o'clock show for you as well. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. And don't forget, on your way out, scan that QR code. It will take you through to the Goldbridge Saves Football podcast. Give it a listen. Out every Tuesday morning. It's a good one this morning. And I'll speak to you a little bit later. 7 o'clock show tonight, remember, because I'm doing Arsenal Porto at 8. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.